The following is presented as an entertainment program emphasizing folklore. It is not intended as legal or medical advice in any way and should not be used to replace the advice of a legal or medical professional. New World Witchery is a Patreon-supported podcast. This episode is sponsored in part by listener Donna. We've done a reading, and it looks like you'll be getting a fantastic raise this year. So congratulations, and thank you.
If you'd like to become a patron and help support the show while also getting some great perks, please visit www.patreon.com/newworldwitchery, where you can pledge $1 a month or whatever you can to help us cancel out the necromancy spell Donna has been working. We've really misunderstood what raise meant in that reading. And thank you to all of our listeners.
Are you looking for magic? Maybe magic that lives right where you do?
If so, join us aboard our broomsticks and ride with us from the Atlantic to the Pacific, from the Yukon to the Yucatan, and find magic that's right outside your front door or just off of Route 66.
Whether you're in the Windy City or the Crescent City, the city that never sleeps, or the city of brotherly love, we've got enchantment for you.
I'm Cory.
And I'm Laine, and this is New World Witchery.
We are shuffling, turning, and spreading today.
Maybe you are. Which means it's time to talk about reading cards.
Don't care for my double entendres, do you?
No, I do not.
Hi, Laine.
Hi.
It is wonderful to be back with you. I'm getting to chat a little bit and catch up somewhat. Thought maybe we should open with what's been going on. It's been a minute since we recorded together and had like a real chat show. And I know we both have had very, very busy lives. So what's going on with you?
Well, I just had an infusion like 2 days ago. So I'm really tired, but doing better than I have been previously. So that's good. I don't know. Just trying to get through summer and live, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I'm just hanging on, you know?
Live every day, right?
It's like that. It's those inspirational posters. I am the kitten hanging in the tree, just saying, hang in there, baby.
Right, yeah. Well, and I think the last episode we put out was in March, but I think we recorded that in actually like February, January. So I think since then, haven't you had a trip over to Hungary?
Have I seriously not talked about it since? Oh man, I guess so.
Yeah,
Dang.
I think last time we were talking about you were going to go, and I think you had been last year.
Yes.
But I don't think you'd actually had a chance, because I think that trip was in March or April.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. See, I don't even thank you for. But yeah, I got an Airbnb type of deal and had my brother come over and stay with my sister-in-law and my niece. And yeah, it was great. And, just did more touristy stuff. And I actually walked around the city a little bit by myself and was able to read the subway, lines and things like that. And it was something I needed. I don't know. I just really felt like I needed to just be kind of independent for a little bit. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. I get that kind of you time, you space.
Yeah.
And what an adventure. You've been, for those who don't know, obviously your brother and his wife live there in Hungary. Mm-hmm. So you go to visit them about once a year-ish at this point.
I try. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to be able to.
Mm-hmm. And you've been learning Hungarian, actually have a Hungarian tutor who kind of helps you to learn the language and everything like that. So you have been putting in a lot of effort on this. So I applaud you for that.
Oh, thanks. Like I said, I'm trying. It's important to me. And I love learning languages and learning about them. And so
yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah. And you're, quite good at I think every time I see you, you have a new Hungarian word or phrase that I haven't known before. So I find that very charming.
Thank you.
And then I think didn't you also have a trip over to Charlotte or something like that?
Yeah. So there was a little tiny Comic Con that happened, but actually about comics, and no shade or anything. It's just, sorry, facts. But it was, instead of just comics and media, it was more, just comics and kind of graphic novels. And of course there was some media stuff that seeps in, but yeah, it was mostly comics, and went for my husband but my daughter and I, we found a few Pokemon things that we liked, and I don't know, a couple things here and there. And we did an escape room while we were there because my best friend from high school lives there, and we stayed with her. And so, yeah, I've had a busy little summer, but, kind of.
Getting your adventures in between naps kind of a situation.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. Yes.
Fair enough. Well, very cool. It's also been a travel heavy summer for me as well. Kicked off the summer. My partner took me up to Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, so that we could go to the national park, did a very intensive cave tour that was long. I think it was like 1,000 stairs in the whole tour, maybe even longer than that.
Wow.
It was a lot, but it was really cool. Like you get to go down to see this underwater river or underground river. This deep down there, they call it the River Styx. Like it's very cool, very mythological. Our tour guide was like the saltiest, driest fish I've ever had. He was delightful. He was so marvelous. And we loved him. If anybody's ever seen So I Married an Axe Murderer, the Phil Hartman guide who's at Alcatraz, that super dry personality was him.
That's amazing.
It was great.
Oh, I miss Phil Hartman.
We all do for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And then also went down to Savannah, was taking my eldest there. She was looking at colleges, and we went down and spent some time with family down at one of the islands down there too, which was really cool too. So
that's neat.
And then I just got back from a trip as well.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, you want to talk about that at all?
No, not one bit.
Oh, okay. Moving on.
Moving on. No, so we got back from Mystic South, which we had talked about going to, and this was our third time, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
At Mystic South. But yeah, we did the prognostication pajama party, and Cory, you also did a panel on
Mother Goose, the kind of occult history of nursery rhymes, and that was lovely. But yeah, our prognostication pajama party is always a hit. It's people really love doing. So
that was fun. Yeah,
it was really neat. So we had a good time with that. I'm actually going to be doing that, both of those up at the Salem Witch Fest here in August too. So hopefully folks will pop out to see that. But
you won't have my cootie catcher making skills.
I will not. I will be relying on my partner's going to kind of be the pseudo Laine for that. And I don't know if she does cootie catchers or not. I'm sure she can. So
I may have to show her.
Indeed. So. But one of the things that was really fun that we went doing at Mystic South one night, we just sat on a bed and read cards for each other the whole time. And it was delightful. Had a marvelous time doing that. So it kind of got me thinking we've talked about divination, but it's been a long time since we've done that. And I know that maybe we've brought in cartomancy here and there. It's part of our Folk Magician's notebooks, but we haven't really just ever sat and done a deep dive on sort of playing cards and tarot cards and sort of card reading in general. So I thought that might be a fun thing to talk about this time around.
Yeah, I agree. And that's not when you say a deep dive, you don't mean a history lesson necessarily, but which could be a whole separate, podcast. And I'm sure there's some great ones out there, but this is more about our personal dealings with them and our feelings on that.
Yeah, very, very much so. And I'm also, currently this month, I'm teaching a cartomancy course online. And part of that is doing that kind of historical overview. So there may be little snippets of history that sneak in here, but for the most part, we're really just focusing on, what do we do with cards and why? Why do we do it? Why do we use the cards we do? Why do we use the methods we do? How do we, kind of play around with that a little bit too? Because cards are fun. They started as a game. So let's have fun with it. So I'll talk about a lot of that. But, I guess that we should talk about kind of our histories with this. So where did you get started with card reading?
I remember my mom had a tarot deck when I was really young, but she was weird about it. And I feel she's downstairs right now. I feel if I asked her about it, she would not remember at all. She would not ever remember having a deck, but I know she did. And I also remember, so my dad taught me to play poker and Texas Hold'em. And I'm not great at poker, but Texas Hold'em, I'm pretty okay at, I have to say. And I mean, obviously that's not fortune telling, but I don't know, having a familiarity with cards, like it still feels magical to me a little bit. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's so many stories of like maybe, playing a game for your soul or for, a certain thing, or I don't know. So there's a magic to cards in general to me.
Yeah. And I mean, so you were kind of playing both sides of the cards there, because you had the tarot access with your mom, but you also had the, poker familiarity with your dad. So you kind of were getting cards from all sides. But when did it occur to you to do the playing cards could be used the way that tarot cards were used?
When I met you.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I had never known about that really, at least not in any way that sort of made a mark, that even made me think, oh, I should look into that. I just always was like, oh, it's tarot. Like if I'm going to read cards, it's going to be tarot. And then you were like, no, there's this whole system, and here, let me show you. And
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wasn't trying to pump you for praise on that. Honestly, I was thinking that maybe you had heard about it before, but
no, definitely not.
Also, the Texas Hold'em, it got me thinking. Like I now have the Beyonce song in my head. With the, Texas ain't a Hold'em.
Right.
Well, cool. And so, with those, when you were playing around with, or not playing around, when you were kind of picking up tarot, were you mostly like trying to read for yourself? Did you offer readings to other people? Like where did that kind of come in for you?
No, it was only for myself. I don't think when I was that young, I don't think I even really knew you could read for other people. It was more just like I thought it was a thing you did for yourself.
So kind of almost a psychological exercise in that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or spiritual reflection exercise. Gotcha. Yeah, really interesting. I mean, and so at what point did it occur to you, if you remember, that you could read for other people?
I have no idea, honestly.
No, fair, right? Like
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like if we dug into those old Silver Ravenwolf books, or even Uncle Bucky's Big Blue book, like I think there are things about tarot in those. Some maybe that could have been an early influence as well. I
mean, there's movies and stuff where it comes up. Like I do remember Now and Then they do a tarot reading in that, and Jenny Garofalo is in that movie randomly enough, and they joke or call her a witch, and she does a tarot reading for them. So it couldn't have been that, when did that come out? God, like 95, I want to say.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was like 10, we'll say 10 years old.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. Yeah. And so, knowing that they were like something kind of mystical, like, was it something you were really drawn to, or was it something that you were?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, cool.
Yes. Yeah. My mom also had this book that was like encyclopedia of like mystical symbols or something like that. Or I wish I could remember it better. But yeah, I would like kind of leaf through that and go to the ones that I was more interested in, like of course around that time the Ankh, or things like that. So I have
I always think there was the bumper sticker that went around forever. That was the Ankh, if you love Isis.
I loved that one, and the one that said "Isis, Isis, rah rah rah."
Yeah, you can tell which witchy stores we were hanging out at.
Right? That was such a little. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like a little time capsule of that time. It was just so specific that you can't really describe unless you were there. But anyway, sure. I mean, every time period is like that, I'm sure. But there's just something so nostalgic about that time period for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah. And I feel like, I feel like it's one of those things for me where, like, if I look back at kind of my history with all of this, I think the very first tarot I ever got and tried to read, there was this series of books that was the Fairy Wicca series by, I think it was Kismet Stepanek was the name. And she had a Fairy Wicca tarot that went with it. And because it was all Celtic mythology, and I should add the caveat that this was in the 90s, and I would never turn to these books for scholarly information on Celtic mythology and stuff like that. But it was an interesting way to kind of encounter the stories through someone else's experience and kind of learn that. So it was very symbolic, but seeing like Roux as one of the kings, I think he may have been like the King of Cups or the King of Wands or something like that. And just like seeing these like different Celtic figures that I had been learning about, then sort of translated into the tarot, I always kind of thought of it as this sort of story. It was always sort of narrative to me. And then on the flip side of that, like I grew up, playing, I think we all grew up playing different card games. Like I would learn, we did War, we did Spoons, we did
Spoons. We did Egyptian Rat Screw. Yeah. Bullshit as well, So those kind of games, like you learn them and they're always that little bit feisty and illicit, which is kind of cool because they were, like we couldn't call it Egyptian Rat Screw. We couldn't call it bullshit, but you knew what it was. You knew what it was called. Right.
And so there was that, I don't know, cards always had that little bit of illicitness to them, even though they were something we played quite a lot. And then, and this is going to be super duper weird, I think it was in the mid to late 90s, there was this album that came out by the artist Sting. And the album was called 10 Summoners' Tales, and it was basically this like Chaucer, like it's Sting, y'all. He was basically writing these like Chaucerian tales as songs, one of which was If I Ever Lose My Faith in You. So,
oh, okay.
It was a big album. Fields of Gold was another one off of that album. So really, really big album for him. But one of the songs on there was this song where it was basically two people are playing cards. And as they're playing cards, the cards are kind of revealing stuff about their relationship and this like conflict that they're having. And the song is called Shape of My Heart. And it's like he'll deal it out. He says, he uses the cards as a meditation, and those he plays never suspect, right? He doesn't play for the money he wins. He doesn't play for respect, things like that. And then he knows that the spades are the swords of a soldier. He knows clubs are weapons of war. He knows that diamonds are money for his art, but that's not the shape of his heart, right? And so it was this idea that like, oh, can playing cards do the same thing that tarot is supposed to do? And so I started looking for that, and I wound up finding some systems that I very quickly glommed onto. It's like, oh, I love this. This is phenomenal. So a lot of like what I was learning, I learned a little bit of tarot really through that sort of Fairy Wicca tarot thing, but I was mostly learning playing card stuff, and then eventually kind of found my way to the more, Rider-Waite-Smith style decks, but always had in the back of my mind playing cards. And then those wound up being the easiest thing for me to read because I just felt like I could really get into that groove with them. I really got that there was a story behind them. I really got that it was just the idea of like you playing a card game, and that the card game was sort of a revelation of information as you played it. I don't know. It was that secrets in plain sight thing that I've always loved. So
yes. Yeah. Same. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that kind of lands us at playing cards versus tarot. Is there one that you use more than the other now? Or like, what's that trajectory been like for you?
It really depends on my mood, honestly. Like, I feel like when it's just one card, I want to go for tarot because there's more depth that I can glean from it. But if I want what I feel is a more cohesive reading with many different cards, I want playing cards.
Oh, interesting.
Because when there's so much information on the tarot, I tend to get overwhelmed with it, and it muddies sometimes. So, like I said, when I'm looking for multiple card reading, I would usually reach for playing cards. What about you? How do you tend to go?
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say, so we've been doing our Folk Magician's Notebook. I think this is our 4th year of doing it, which feels weird. I love that you're Christ on crutches.
Seriously?
Yeah, no, yeah, we're up to episode 43, which means by the end of this year, it'll be 48 episodes. So yeah. So yeah, this is our 4th year of doing the Folk Magician's Notebook, and every month you and I will pull a card for each other. So it's been really, really helpful to kind of go back and forth between them because we'll alternate. And it does help me to it helps me to kind of frame up my cards and what I expect from them differently. Like playing cards feel like they feel like a conversation that I'm having with the cards, and they feel like they are giving me some choices and some impressions. Whereas I think tarot feels a little more prescriptive to me. That's not how, I think, how everybody feels about it, but it feels much more like, nope, this is what's going to happen, right? Or no, this is how things are, which is fine. In some cases, I need that definitiveness, right? But
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what you mean by that depth, right? Is that sort of like, oh, you pull one card. This is a lot of information on that one card, right? Mm-hmm. And I think tarot, because it is very symbolically rich, like if you look at modern Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, it is, the symbolism, even in the numbered cards of the different suits, they're very specific. Like where water is on a card means something, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of depth there, like you'd said. Whereas I think with the playing cards, what it feels more like to me, and this is something I've talked about in that course as well, is they are open to narrative. So it's more like in folklore studies, we have this idea of something called motifs and motifimes, which is, if you're going to have an evil character in a children's fairy tale, right? It's most likely going to be who? Probably they're wicked what?
Oh, the Wicked Witch?
It's a wicked witch or a wicked
stepmother.
Exactly, right? And this is what I mean.
Painted?
Painted, right? But no, you got it. You were there. So,
I'm there.
Yeah, but it's a wicked witch, a wicked stepmother, right? If you're going to have a helper, it could be a fairy godmother or a good fairy, right? Or something like that. Like there's usually how many tasks does somebody in a fairy tale usually have to complete before they get to the end?
3.
Exactly. Right. So, maybe 7 certain, but it's very like, oh, these things are structured a very specific way. Well, playing cards to me feel like that. Like I'm getting the little bits like, oh, I pulled a wicked stepmother. Oh, and I pulled somebody in a forest. Oh, and I pulled a pathway through the forest, and I pulled something sweeter or pleasant. Oh, this is it's Hansel and Gretel, right? We're going away from the wicked stepmother to the witch's house in the woods, which is made of gingerbread, right? So to me, when I read tarot or when I read playing cards, that kind of stuff comes together for me very, very quickly. And I can start to see a pattern of narrative in them. But like you said, when you're pulling just one, that doesn't always happen, right? Because when you're like,
right.
I've pulled a wicked stepmother, I need more information, right?
Yes. Is it mine? Is it yours? Is it a random one that might come into my life and I need to be on the lookout for?
Exactly. Like I need narrative to build upon from that. So
yeah.
So I mean, are there specific like situations where you will turn to tarot first or playing cards first? Like, are there kinds of like life situations that you want to read on that, like, oh no, this one's for tarot or this one's for playing cards?
No, it's really by feel. I feel, it's just, and also I have a lot of decks. So because one thing we haven't even really mentioned is Oracle decks.
Oh yeah.
That I've really, really enjoy, sometimes more than standard decks. Mm-hmm. So like I have the Sacred Hags Oracle that I like. I have the Literary Witches Oracle.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
I know you have that one too.
Yeah.
And then I have one that I got at a local place. I mean, it was a maker's fair, but she does a lot of she has her own website, but it's called the Mutable Oracle Handbook. Good grief.
Oh, is this Glitter and Toadstools?
Yes. glitterandtoadstools.com.
Yeah.
And I love this one because she says, this is Hannah Mathis, just to give credit here. Mutable, obviously meaning like prone to change or inconstant. So this Oracle deck is a little different, designed to be bent to your will. While the images are set, the meanings wait to be determined by you. You will find each page will list the title of a corresponding card, followed by a few keywords. Okay. So, she has like ones that you might expect to see, like a skeleton key or maybe a needle and thread. I like those types of ones. But then she also has platypus, which is like truth and ambiguity. But, like you could add your own meanings to that. So like, for example, I find platypuses. I don't know. I find them fascinating.
It's a platypus.
Yes. Yeah.
I said posse, by the way. Posse.
I know. I find them fascinating. Monotremes. How about that? We'll stick with that.
There you go. Yeah.
I find monotremes fascinating, and they they hatch from eggs, but then they also give milk, but they don't have nipples. They sweat the milk out of their where the nipples would be, that area, like a stomach area.
Yeah.
So I have a weird motherhood association with platypus.
Mm-hmm.
I keep not wanting
monotremes.
Yes, with monotremes. So that could be one that I would add to that might be my specific one. But I guess I bring that up just to say that all cards are like that, and I like being able to, or having been working with the cards more because of the Folk Magician's Notebook that we do, and reading for you over and over again, I do get a feel more for the cards in general, but what pops up for you? I feel like there are certain ones that I get more for you than myself or for other readings,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I want us to talk at least at some point here about cards that we identify with, and what do we connect with. That Glitter and Toadstools deck, the Mutable Oracle, we did do some readings on that, while we were doing our various iterations over the weekend, and it was really fun. And it's not everything you'd expect. Like you said, is the platypus, but there's also the leech. And I think there was one that's just the lamp.
There's a fig.
Yeah.
There's a letter opener.
Yeah. And we got some interesting meanings because one of the things that she did was she designed it so that she gives you some impressions that you can lead you, but you really develop your own series of meanings from them. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And fig, I remember us we were we have very specific things we think about the fig. So. Right.
Because, some people may be like, oh, yum, fig Newtons. That's, oh, yay. And I'm like, those things grossed me out as a kid. And, so there's a whole disgust thing I have with figs that, maybe some people don't have. So anyway, I really like that. So that's an Oracle deck I have.
Yeah.
Do you have any other ones that you can think of that stand out to you?
As far as Oracle decks?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Mildred Payne deck that I...
Yes.
The one that I'll tell people anytime, it reads you for filth. It's not ashamed to tell you the truth. And it has some really disturbing stuff. There's, it's basically designed to look like a bunch of old woodcuts that you would find in a book from the 1600s or something like that, with a lot of very creepy, dark imagery. I think one of the ones was the doll that you got in one of the readings, where it's a little girl playing with dolls, but there's a hairy devil hand reaching through the window to give her this really creepy looking doll as well.
Yeah. Well, she's playing with what looks like normal dolls, but then it's this hand is reaching through the window, which makes it in turn look like a dollhouse.
Yeah.
In and of itself, but it's handing her a skeleton version of the doll. And yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
There's some creepy ones.
They're very creepy, but it's weirdly insightful because it sort of asks you to consider, you can read, upright or inverted, which I guess is something else we should talk about with tarot specifically, but you can read upright or inverted, and they call it kind of light and dark, but you really can read the light and the dark for every card in every situation, because you may need that information. You may need both sides of that information to understand what it's telling you. And it's very, very good at this specifically is your problem and it's you. Here's what you did wrong and here's how you'll have to fix that. Which I dig about that. But
yeah, you too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's other Oracle decks. There's one Oracle deck, I think it's the Winterseer Animal Oracle, which I don't read with it all that much, but it's very pretty. So I like, pulling that out and looking at it. Mm-hmm. And then I got another one that was it was kind of like the one from Glitter and Toadstools, but it was just kind of animals done by Jessica Roux, who does the ornithography book and floriography book. And it's I think it's all woodland creatures basically.
Yeah.
And I like that one. I like that one to look at. I haven't read much with it, so I should be clear about that. But, yeah. And then the Literary Witches Tarot, for sure. I love that one a lot.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when I read for myself with it, I don't feel like I connect much with it, but the readings that I've done for other people have been eerie to me. Like I remember there was one where we were doing like like an Instagram live or something.
Yeah.
And somebody came on and asked for it. And I was like, well, this is interesting. You know, it was something about nursing and something with like the medical field. And it like totally made sense to that person. And yeah, I can't remember the complete specifics, but it was, like I said, eerie.
Yeah. It's very sharp. And it also very much like the Mutable Oracle, like, so you do have your like literary figures, like you'll have authors that are part of the literary tarot or the literary oracle, but there's also a bunch of just like objects, right?
Yes.
And that also I think is really cool because you get that sort of sense of like, I don't know. I think both of us, we wrote a whole book on like just random magical objects around your house. And this deck very much is like, hey, there's random magical objects around your house.
Right.
Yeah. So there's that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other, deck, any other, like, I guess we should talk about maybe like favorite decks. Do you have other favorite decks, whether they're tarot or playing cards or I mean, oracles we've kind of talked about a little bit, but are there other ones that you really like?
Well, I actually really do like my Buffy Tarot because it's like you were saying you can kind of create a narrative in your head or, like you sometimes will kind of go to fairy tales or folk tales because that's what you know so well. And for me, I mean, my folk tales growing up were movies, right? Like they were Muppets and Disney. And yeah. So anyway, as I got a little bit older and got into magic and, acknowledging that was part of my life in a real way, Buffy was there as well. And so they have this kind of crisscross, in my brain. And I love that they've kind of come together in this deck. And there are some choices that I might have made differently had I been asked. Because I am the end all be all Buffy fan, of course.
You are the Buffy star.
I love it. Oh, goodness. But I love being able to already have an impression of the card just by looking at it and just knowing something about the character, knowing where we are in the seasons or, in the arc of the story. And I mean, it's like people who know tarot so well, just like the Rider-Waite deck and kind of that story as presented. But for me, it's a little bit easier to do something that's more pop culture based, I guess.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah. And I think when you were reading with it, the thing that confused me was like they'll use the weapons that are in Buffy. So like not the glaive, what's it called? The scythe, right? Like, so you have the, 5 of scythes or something like that. And it took me a little bit of effort to sort of reconfigure the different suits in my head, but the images, and I should say the images are really beautiful in that one as well.
Yeah, I do like the artwork.
Yeah. But, you're right. That knowing that narrative, I'm like, oh, okay. So this is telling me this character is, or the impression that this card's trying to give is Dark Willow. Okay. Well, I know what Dark Willow is and I know kind of that narrative. So it's helpful to sort of unpack, that meaning.
A more immediate way. Cause I mean, I still can, I have like books on tarot and things like that. And like I said, I've been trying to work with it more and become more familiar with it. But sometimes it's nice to just have that immediate knowledge of it and being able to just pull it and not have to, go do research for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, are there other, like, there's so many of these like decks. I know there's a labyrinth oriented deck. There's a Star Trek Next Generation oriented deck, which I have not read with, but I feel like I would have that kind of like access to. Like Star Wars, I feel like is something that you would have a lot of access to. So like, are there decks that that are like that for you, or like, are there properties out there that you wish would be turned into something tarot like?
I mean, there's maybe, I'm sure there's one that is, but out there, but not that I would pay money for it. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. So like if they did an X-Files tarot, you're not first in line for that.
Well, I was thinking Harry Potter.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That would be very, very, easy for me to access, like story wise, because I have so much canon knowledge of that. But yeah, like I said, I'm not not
wanting to throw money at that particular.
Yeah, not right now. Not right now.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'm curious, like, what would you do? I mean, I'm sure there actually is a Star Wars tarot of some kind out there, but like, is that one that you feel like it's almost there's too much stuff to try to get into the deck?
Especially because like if you bring in, the prequels, okay, but then are you also bringing in like the lore from some of the animated stuff or
Mandalorian or
well, and that's a totally different.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And like, what timelines are we getting into? And are we getting into the Old Republic and the New Republic? And I just, if we could like stick to the original trilogy, maybe
to do
some prequel and sequel, like main knowledge prequel and sequel stuff, I could be okay. But yeah, for the most part. I'm like, I don't really know much about like Plo Koon and things like that. I don't. Give me Han Solo, okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the magician. There you go. Done. Let's walk away from that one. I'm sure somebody right now is screaming.
I'm sure
at their radio for this.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody hates Star Wars like Star Wars fans. So
sure.
It's
fair.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. I was thinking like, could you do it with Jurassic Park? I'm like, I'm sure you could.
There's a lot of lore there.
There is, right? And like, especially if you're just kind of sticking solely to the movies, you still can get a lot in and it works pretty well. Stephen King, honestly, because I was trying to think of like ones that you would be really good at. Stephen King, I know that you haven't necessarily read every single thing by Stephen King, but he already has his own sort of mythological world with Dark Tower. So I feel like a tarot would probably come out of that pretty easily.
Yeah. I've read the first one, but I've not gotten really into Dark Tower, but he has his own like Castle Rock.
Yeah.
And like Derry, places are set in the same towns and
I mean, even
they interact with other characters. Yeah.
And even stories that are not part of what would essentially be the Dark Tower core series are specifically related. So like The Shining very much is part of the Dark Tower world. It is supposed to be part of the Dark Tower world, but it's not, it's a tangential piece of it. It's like, it's extra lore, if that makes sense. So, So yeah, I mean, I feel like those are ones that would be good. I don't know. What would I mean, Star Trek was kind of the one that jumped off the page for me, but I don't know what I would go for otherwise. I have no idea.
Yeah, Star Trek would be my main thing for you, I feel like.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like an IP. It's not like a property, but I do have cards that they're just playing cards, but they also have things on them. So one is like a visual botanical encyclopedia.
Oh yeah.
Which I really like because it adds like an extra layer to it. So recently, like I pulled for you the Jack of Hearts, right? And what is on that is the Jersey Lily. And that doesn't really mean much to me, but it has what is it, Latin? It's Amaryllis belladonna.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Belladonna is kind of an inside joke between us. I mean, it's not much of an inside joke, just a joke between us. Like if you've seen Practical Magic, the belladonna is in my bag.
Yeah.
It's just, a little fun thing. We both love the movie. It's just silly, but it's a little extra layer. It says like Cory to me. And I don't know. I really like finding cards that have little things like that on them. I have another one that's a foraging encyclopedia and it has different mushrooms and things like that. So, weird. The Jack of Hearts is up on this one too. It's the very first one that came up. And it's alfalfa and it's just a little thing, a little blurb. It says ideal food for dairy cows as it can increase the amount of milk they can produce.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of milk in this episode. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. We got platypi milk. We got cow milk. I don't know. I feel like we're heading in a direction here. I don't know. Yeah. No. And I definitely have some decks. Like you got me this really beautiful deck, and I wish I had it in front of me. It's by Corina Dross, I think, is the person who illustrated it. It's like the portable Talismans Oracle or something like that.
Yeah.
And I love that one. Portable Fortitude is what it was called. Portable Fortitude.
Yes, I like that one a lot.
I really love that one. And every card has its own kind of distinct meaning and definition, which I do find it sometimes hard to read with cards where playing cards now look a little bit more like tarot cards because they're so locked into an image. And one of the joys I have with playing cards is that they're flexible, but that deck is really beautiful and I really like it. And then they've got one by Wylie Beckert, which is the Wicked Kingdom deck that I really love, where I love it when people do fun stuff with like the royals. The royal cards look amazing in that one. And like, I think the clubs, they all have like bear skin, like cloaks on, and they look very like, oh, they live in a feral kingdom of some kind, you know? Mm-hmm. So I really like that one, but yeah. So those kind of decks, yeah, I really enjoy those. But I mean, I collect playing card decks from everywhere. Like I've got like a Haunted Mansion deck and like
nice.
All kinds of stuff. So
I know I got you the card deck from Hungary, which is kind of unique because they have their own special deck that they play certain card games with that I don't know much about, but like the cards include like fall, winter, spring, and summer, sort of like mahjong. Yeah, and like the cards, symbols are not like, cards, but tiles. Yeah, and they're like acorns and leaves and things like that. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. I like that one as well, and I wish I could find my deck. I might have to buy another one when I go again. Yeah, well, I mean, I think I actually have another deck. It's not Hungarian, it's the Czech version of the exact same thing, basically. Oh, cool. Yeah, so it is really interesting. Like this is and you know, I know we're not getting into the history, but that's really where a lot of this stuff came from, were these like very specific kind of card games that were being developed in different parts of the world that eventually people started saying like, well, could you do something else with them? Could they not be just cards? Could they also be symbolic keys to something? And so that's where you get a lot of the sort of, you know, fortune telling that comes out of it. So, but I mean, even tarot, like you can go to, I think it's parts of France. You can actually see people like sitting around a table at a cafe playing tarot, like playing the game. So it's not an unusual thing. It's just, it's, you know, there's so many different kind of card decks. And yeah, those ones from Eastern and Central Europe are beautiful. Mm-hmm. They feel very old. They really do. I mean, I know it's like a new deck that I bought you in like, I mean, it wasn't the airport, but it might as well, you know, right? It was like a tourist stop, but it still is, it's the history behind it. You can feel, I mean, not to like stray too far off our topic, but that's sort of what I mean when I talk about like tradition and like why following certain rituals or doing the same things that our ancestors did kind of like resonates with me because it holds that history to it. Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily have to, like, it doesn't have to be, and that's the nice thing with these card decks, right? Like so we see these variations. You can love your Buffy Tarot the same way you love this Hungarian deck that probably is very similar to what was printed in, you know, like 1645 or something like that. Right. Right. So, I mean, that's one. So history can, you know, the sort of the tradition component of it doesn't necessarily have to be fixed and unmoving, but rather it sort of rhymes throughout history. Yeah. Right? And it's, you know? I think it's important to point out too, sort of the, like in historical costuming circles where they say like, you know, like you appreciate the aesthetics of it and you appreciate the history of it, but you don't necessarily, you don't the values of it. Right. Right. So I also, what I mean when I say that in relation to what I'm talking about is that I don't want tradition to override common sense or, you know, like people's rights or of course. I mean, it sounds silly to even say that, but sometimes you got to in this world. So yeah, for sure. Yeah. Tradition isn't the end all beat all of everything, but I guess I'm just trying to say that's why it's important to me, but it's not the most important thing. For sure. Which, I mean, I guess that kind of leads us into, you know, one of the last things that we'll talk about, which is spreads that we like, right? Because I think when people are learning tarot,
there's this sort of default Celtic cross spread that you learn in like 27 different books, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in the back of every little white book that comes with every deck of tarot. And there's some other spreads too. Like and some of them I find very useful. 3-card spreads are like my bread and butter. I love them.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love a 3-card spread for sure.
So straightforward, so easy to read, really gives me what I need. But yeah, the Celtic cross tarot. But are there spreads that you really like? And how do you feel about like, going quote unquote off book with spreads?
I've never been very good with spreads. Like I remember first learning tarot and thinking you kind of had to do it that way. And, I didn't know that you could just kind of pick one and that was it. It was like you were saying, some of them can be very, this is how you do it. And that is that. And so it was, you have to cast a circle and you have to feel sacred and you have to do all these things in order to do a reading. And you want to have like your candles lit and do this elaborate, like you said, Celtic cross, or using all of the, I don't know. It always felt like a really big task to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I wanted to do it that much, I guess, because of that. And I don't know, it always felt like a barrier. So when I finally did just sort of realize that you could, just do 1 or 2 or 3, whatever, it didn't have to be this big production. They definitely started to feel more accessible then, but it took years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and again, that's where like, and I'm not saying the tarot is inherently this way, but I think that there is, or was for a long time, this kind of push that tarot was a little prescriptivist in that, you need to kind of memorize the meanings and then you can do kind of some reflective work and kind of learn them for yourself. And you really need to do these specific spreads. And then eventually you can kind of start to do some variations on this. Especially I feel like in the 90s and the early 2000s, that was a very strong vibe or a very strong thread within tarot, was that there was a way of doing things, right? And I think that's shifted a lot. I think people have really said like, no. We don't have to follow super strict guidelines on this. And I think, learning the meanings is valuable. Being able to understand the symbolism, understanding the history of the cards is useful, but you can push outside of that. And spreads are a really great way to do that. Cause I think you can go beyond that Celtic cross tarot any day of the week and get a spread that works for you. Right?
Yeah. So that brings us into a social media account that you introduced me to.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with called, what is it? 3 a.m. Tarot?
3 a.m. Tarot. And I think Megan Jones Wall is the name of the person who owns the account. And they have done a book called Tarot Spreads, but yeah, they do these like super improvisational, like even like meme based like tarot spreads, which make a lot of sense because we understand the grammar of those things.
Yeah. Memes are very quick visual language. And so to have that so quickly communicated to your brain it just makes it easier. It makes it feel more intuitive.
Yeah.
So sometimes these silly meme spreads, you learn more than you would with the classic Celtic cross.
Right. Like if you think about a Celtic cross, you've got your actual cross with the, 2 cards on one on top of the other and the 4 around it and then the 4 going up the side. Wonderful. It is a good spread. I have nothing against that spread, but like you really kind of have to spend some time learning that spread. Whereas if somebody says, I'm going to do a distracted boyfriend meme reading on you, right? You've seen the distracted boyfriend meme. You're going to really quickly understand like, oh, the thing I should be paying attention to, my current lack of attention and what's causing it. And then, what am I being distracted by and how do I get over that? Right. Like you can see the breakdown of that really quickly in a meme like that. So yeah. So highly recommend that 3 a.m. Tarot. Like I think we didn't use the one from Game Changer, but they have like a Game Changer based spread where it's like the only way to begin is by beginning. And I've been here the whole time or something.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah. That was a great one, which this may be too specific right now, but the crossing of my hobbies and my interests came together. It was super weird. They're doing like a funny thing for one of the Game Changer episodes to see like which video can get more viral. Brennan put one out and he's like, why I'm leaving Dropout. And he's talking about how he's going to go follow his passion and make American Girl doll shoes. And I'm like, this is weird. This is a weird, like I said, crossing of my hobby.
That's really funny.
You better bet that I went to Brennan's AmericanGirlDollShoes.com. Which is a real website.
You have a very full cart there, I'm imagining right now.
There was nothing to buy, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was very funny. But I'm sorry. Yes, game changer. But so that's kind of niche, so specific. But it also, I think, shows you ways to make your own. And we did that. So we were looking through the Buffy deck again. That was one of the ones we did the reading with. And they have, I think, 3 suggested spreads. And one is called 5x5, which if you know anything about, faith, you'll kind of know that saying. And then one is called A World Without Shrimp. And again, just a little joke from the show about there being multiple dimensions. And there's one that is just a world without shrimp. And Tara's excited because she's allergic. And so if you have been feeling as though something is missing from your life, this spread can help you identify what you're craving. And then there's, 4 cards laid out vaguely in the shape of a shrimp, which is funny to me. But like I said, the 3 a.m. tarot, we weren't really feeling those spreads.
Yeah, the shrimp one was fine, but it felt a little wonky. So we improvised one, right? Based on Buffy and our knowledge of Buffy. Was it the Amy the Rat one?
I think so.
Yeah, there's like a scene where Buffy, Willow, and Amy, I know if you don't know Buffy, this means nothing to you, but 3 of the main characters are talking to each other. One of them, they're asking each other how each other are. One of them says, have you been? Rat, you, dead. Oh. And so we were like, oh yeah, so let's make a scene kind of based, or let's make a reading based on that. So we sort of see what are the sort of 3 things going on here, the three problems that you're facing. It's basically a 3-card spread, but it's a grammar that we got,
Right. And that wasn't past, present, future, or, when it starts to feel too generic, I guess. So it's so funny that I was talking about like ritual and everything earlier, but now I'm like, it's kind of a knock against ritual because it can be, like where you start to lose the.
Right. Well, I mean, I think if ritual becomes empty, then it becomes a problem, right?
Yeah,
but
of course.
If it has meaning, if it feels like something for you, it's, it's just like I was saying with that Sting song, right? There's a ritual to even playing card games. And if that means something to you, then you can really get something out of it, right? You can find meaning in a hand of poker. But if it feels empty to you because you've just been doing the same ritual over and over again, you can also play with it. And that's what these spreads do. So I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's a lot of stuff. Like if you know Lord of the Rings, they've got like you can do one that's like the entire fellowship laid out, or you can do one that's just the Boromir one does not simply walk into Mordor, and like different aspects of that. So you can do lots of stuff with that, but it's a lot of fun. If you're interested, I recommend going to check it out. Which I guess gets us to other things that we would recommend in terms of card readings, things like that. Yeah. And the one book I super duper have to recommend if you're doing tarot is Rachel Pollack's 78 Degrees of Wisdom. I love that book so hard. It's so good.
Yeah. I've got that one. And then I don't have, I mean, this sounds really like we planned it or something. I promise that you're going to be embarrassed. But I mean, Corey's book, 54 Devils on Playing Cards, I highly recommend. I think most of our listeners have one by now.
I'm shocked. Well, not that shocked.
I know, right? No. But not that shocked.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I use it all the time, like when playing cards. But as far as other recommendations go, for me, it's like journaling, keeping track of the cards that you've kept. Like keep a tarot journal and what your question was, or, like vaguely what it was about, I guess, if you want to keep that private, and, the card you got and sort of the reading that you interpreted. And I like being able to go back and see like, well, was that correct? Or was I missing something there? And I really feel like that helps me learn the cards better and learn the narrative of them.
Yeah, even just writing about the readings and the cards that you're doing, it does crystallize something in your brain. It makes it much, much easier to sort of, I don't know, like when you're reaching back for like, what does that card mean? You're like, oh, when I read it in this situation, this is kind of what it meant. And when I read it in this situation, it was this. And so you can synthesize that information more easily because it's more concrete in your head, I think.
For sure.
And I was not planning a plug for anything with this, thank you for the free plug for 54 Devils. That was very, very lovely. But one of the things I developed for that course that I'm teaching about this, that I also put out to our patrons, and then I'm going to kind of put out there for sale for people who are interested. Do you know what like a solo RPG is?
I think so.
Yeah, so like an RPG role-playing game, right? So like Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing. Well, you can do solo ones. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right. No, I was going to say, like, so for solo, like, is that the ones like on the computer where it's like you can type in like, I go forward and things like that?
That's one version that you could do, I guess. But with that, everything's pre-programmed for you. And so the solo RPGs I do, like there's one that I do called Apothecaria. There's one called Artifact that's really interesting. And they're journaling games. Basically, you're keeping a journal of your time in world, but you use dice or cards to get consequences or draw like outcomes and stuff like that as you move along, right? And so I actually developed a solo RPG that I called The Lost Cartomancer, where you basically are a new arrival to a city, and you've found this cartomancer's house where you're going to live, but now you have to actually become a cartomancer, and you've never done it before. So it guides you through the steps from the very first like one card black versus red readings, right, all the way to being able to do like full 54 spreads, being able to do like sigils and magic based on the spreads and stuff like that, or based on the cards as well. So, but the whole thing is done as a sort of like solo adventure where you're journaling about your experience, but it creates a story around it for you too. So that if you find journaling about stuff hard, like you don't know what to write, this might be something that you would want to try at some point. So just throwing that out there for people who are interested.
That's neat.
Yeah.
I like that.
Anyway, but yeah, journaling and like trying to remember, card meanings or just spending some time sort of reflecting on the cards and how you're reading them, I think is really, really valuable to becoming just a better card reader. So, yeah. Which also I think gets us to kind of one of our last things that we'll talk about before our listener email. And I guess I'm going to cross-pollinate a little bit because I'm going to ask you kind of a general question, but then I'm also going to ask our kind of question of the episode here too. So, are there cards that you specifically identify with for you? And then what would your card be for 2025 right now?
Well, I've always identified with the Hermit for obvious reasons. And it's not one that like I'm super like happy about. I don't love that I need a bunch of time to myself, but I do. So yeah, like I said, the Hermit's one that I've felt kind of a kinship with for a very long time. But then also one that kind of came up recently, I think I mentioned, was, I believe, the Ace of Cups or maybe it's the Ace of Pentacles. But there's one it has, we talked about it like it's probably years ago by now. But so my daughter, her name is a virtue name. Can never remember that. A virtue name. And it's just one of the words that showed up in the meaning of in the cards. And so, but it also had a lot of other, obviously, meanings that I identified with, I guess. I don't know. So those two kind of in the past. But for this year, it's definitely, and we talked a little bit about this. I kind of needed your help of parsing out where I am and everything. But I had been leaning towards the Empress, and that's still one that I am kind of feeling right now. But it's, I don't know, that sort of feminine energy, initiative, but also a little bit of like the secretiveness to it, but not, I don't know, not quite secretiveness, but I don't know, just like clandestine a little bit.
Right. The Mona Lisa smile of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also like the Chariot is sort of calling, just the, trying to push through, like the finding a point and just really trying to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm trying to be vague, but.
Right. But no, you're trying to balance things and keep things in motion at the same time.
Yeah,
That is not an easy task to do, So I get that for sure.
So that's me. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, the tarot card that I'm always drawn to, that I love the most and that I've identified with weirdly the most is the Star. Mm-hmm. Just because it's the card that comes right after the Tower when things have gone, when you've gone through cataclysm, when you've gone through destruction, you've gone through change, and it's not that you're like at rock bottom. You're not there. You're past that and you're out of the rock bottom component of it, but you're in a resting place. You can see a way to go. There's hope to that card, right? It's a card about hope and to some extent ambition, but not that, endless ambition, this sort of like corporate ladder climbing kind of ambition. It's much more of a finding a renewed sense of purpose so that you can go and take the next step. Right. And that's very much a card that I've long sort of felt for myself as a kind of general card. And then for this year, I'm not sure that there's a tarot card that I particularly throw in there, but when I'm looking at like playing cards, one of the cards that I identify, it's funny because people I think have different cards that they might associate with me. And whenever, people think about that, it's always interesting to see what people will assign to you and what you would assign to yourself. And like one of the ones that I assigned to myself is the Jack of Hearts, because it's a card about creation and creativity, which it's something that, I'm not trying to be like braggadocious about this, but like it's an area that I have some skill, right? Like creativity is something I have within me and I've long fostered. But for me and for this year and kind of really for the past couple of years and kind of moving forward, the card that kind of reminds me the most of the Star in the playing cards is the 10 of Spades, which I tend to read as like a cemetery in moonlight, right? Or the ruins of a church, where it's a place that could be very gloomy. It's a place that could be very dark and very unpleasant, but it's got this uncanny beauty to it, right? It's the haunted past, and it's a way station on your way to whatever's next, right? Like it's spiritually invested with meaning, but it's meaning that doesn't have to hold you back or keep you down anymore. It can actually help you to leave that behind and move forward. So I really, really like that. And I think, I feel like I feel like I would like that to be the energy that we get through the next year or more with.
Yeah.
Like, let's move forward.
Yes. Yes, let's.
So, yeah.
No, I like that a lot though.
Cool.
And it's funny. I associate Jack of Hearts with you as well. I mean, because it comes up a lot for you in my readings. Interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
I know like I said, it's in both of my decks. It's right at the top.
Yeah. And
I just opened.
Well, yeah. And I mean, for a lot of people, when you get that, because in my reading system, one of the main things it could mean is like a baby or a new child. And so I think a lot of people get that and they're like, no, I don't want that. Right? Like, please no.
Not that one.
But it doesn't have to mean like literally that. It can mean this sort of like youthful exuberance and this desire to create, right? Which is, I think, to a fault at times, that is me. So
I see.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of workaholic vibe to it.
Yeah. I mean, in that one, it's more of the sort of like creative outpouring of energy and not necessarily the work going with it. But I mean, I think that it all feeds together. I think you got all pieces in play. So
yeah, that's true.
Yep. So, well, cool. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's more we could say on cards. There's a lot we could say on cards, but we've talked a lot already. So I'd be curious to hear what other folks have to say about their experiences with playing cards or with tarot cards, oracle decks. If you want to throw recommendations our way, we'd love to hear those too. But I think we're going to get to our listener email now. All right. Do you want to read this one?
Sure. From Abby? Okay. Hello, Cory and Laine. I'm a fairly new listener, but I'm working through your lengthy catalog with relish and maybe a touch of obsession. You all are my constant companions right now and have been for the past 6 months or so. I've been wanting to write since your recent update about winding down the podcast, but then keep listening to a new episode and wanting to say something about that. So I decided it best to just get this down before it becomes too delayed or too lengthy. To start with, I'm glad you all are taking the time to step back. I know it must be a hard decision in some ways. I'm happy there is so much for me to listen to still, and you have turned me on to so many other great people, books, and podcasts. But I hope that for you both, the shift allows space for some other good things to come into your life, maybe just allows a little more space into your life, which I really appreciate. Thank you. Laine, my great-grandparents are from Hungary, and I've been wanting to connect with the culture for a while now. Listening to you talk about your trip there is so exciting. You've inspired me to learn a little bit of the language and plan a visit. Oh, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing your perspective to tinker and play with magic. Aw, I love that. Okay, Cory. I love how you always come to your interviews with so much kindness and curiosity. It seriously touches me every time and is inspiring me to bring that energy into my conversations. Thank you for your dedication in bringing us so much content as well as the Folk Magician's notebooks. I recently made the 3 bees and a bag charm.
Oh, yay. That's a fun one.
Cool. I wanted to share a wonderful source of folklore I came across last night in the book, The Taste of Country Cooking by Edna Lewis, who was born and raised in Freetown, Virginia in 1916. Freetown was founded by her grandfather and other freed slaves after the emancipation of 1865. More than just a collection of recipes, Edna says, I decided I wanted to write down just exactly how we did things when I was growing up in Freetown that seemed to make life so rewarding. And what treasures are in there indeed. She describes how they planted by the zodiac and lunar phases, and if a I've never said this word. Yeah, zodiacal day, that's neat, was missed, they would have to wait a whole month to plant that crop. Spring is filled with just so much beautiful butter. Recipe names are rather seasonal markers, such as the delightful A Spring Breakfast When the Shad Were Running, Wheat Harvesting Midday Dinner, and Morning After Hog Butchering Breakfast. I could go on and on, but I recommend if you can find a copy to add it to your reading list when you need a moment to be transported. I guess it is also a good reminder of the resiliency of people in the face of terrible things, that with persistence and effort, we can all make a collective change for the good, and that life will find a way. Thank you both for all you do. I look forward to keeping up with you through hopefully some of your classes, lectures, books, and any other ways. Kindest, Abby.
Love that, Abby. Also, I love the little Jurassic Park nod in there, too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I love that. Love the book recommendation. I got to go track down this book. I think that's so cool. I just love that.
That's really neat.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I will also say like that there probably are dozens, if not more than dozens of books like that out there, because these were things that were like published locally in a lot of cases, not necessarily nationally, but like you go to your local library and look for like the locally published material, you're going to find some really cool stuff like that. And that's so fantastic, Abby. I'm so glad that you found that book specifically. But yeah, so much thanks for sharing that with us and for your kind words about the show. That's really sweet. So
yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, if other folks have recommendations for us, either, like you said, with card decks, with spreads or reading methods that you think we should give a shot or that you found some really good luck with, if you've got cool folklore stuff you want to share with us, we'd love to hear all of that. So we are winding down. That doesn't mean we're going away. We're definitely going to be around. We'll definitely be responding to messages and emails as much as we get a chance to. And, we'll be here for quite a while more. We've, still got several more episodes coming this year. So, definitely keep stuff flowing in our way. And we'll be glad to share as much as we can. And, we're never truly gone, right? we're always in your hearts and your internets. Oh my goodness. But you can, if you want to share stuff with us, please write to us, compassandkey@gmail.com or newworldwitcherypodcast@gmail.com.
Website is newworldwitchery.com. You can stream a ton of episodes because we've been at this a while. You can leave a comment.
Yeah, as Abby noted, we got a back catalog. I think we're at like 260 labeled episodes, but that's not counting Folk Magician's notebooks. That's not counting, which we now have 4 years of.
Right, not counting specials.
So yeah, so you got some content if you're really looking for it. So, and I should also say I'm kind of working backwards now, and about a couple times a week putting episodes onto our YouTube channel so that people want to go back and watch there's nothing really to watch other than like I put this like graphic of a tape deck kind of running behind it, but you can listen to old episodes on YouTube if that's your preferred way of doing stuff. So if you want to, go check that out. Links to that are at newworldwitchery.com/find-us. So
awesome.
Yeah. You want to tell them about the Patreon?
Sure. Patreon.com/New World Witchery. Like Cory said, you can throw $1 or, however much you deem worthy at our feet, and we will be glad for it.
We will dance. We will dance.
Yes, we will. No, but we appreciate everybody who, has in the past, who currently does, who has thought about it,
Yeah.
who supports us in other ways by, sharing or liking or subscribing to, I don't know, our Spotify, things like that. It really, all that helps. And like, Cory said, we are winding down, but we're still going to be here, and we still, want you to have access to it. And that's what we're trying to do, I guess. So
yeah, we will make sure that this is around for people who want to engage with it for as long as they want. And, Patreon helps that. And it's not like, like we're going away there either. This year we put out quite a few of little extra things too. We've got a, book club that's been ramping up so that we're doing pretty much monthly book reading discussions. And we're doing, like I said, I put that solo RPG out, that went out to Patreon supporters as well. So, we try to make sure that if you're supporting us, you're getting something for it. So, But yeah. And if you are, since we talked Buffy this episode, if you're a Buffy fan and you like us and you like folklore and you like people nerding out about stuff, check out Myth Taken, which is our sister podcast where we discuss all the episodes of Buffy. We also discuss the folklore and mythology behind Buffy, have long rambling conversations about what we would do differently if we had control. And oftentimes why we're glad that we never did have control because they did it so well. So. But we're in the 7th season of Buffy there as well. So, getting close to the end there. So there's a lot of back content as well. And you can find that at mythtakenbtvs.com. So I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, Laine, thanks for sitting and chatting and, rifling through the cards with me. And until next time, thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening.
So sorry.
Your timing.
I couldn't help it. I tried so hard. I'm so sorry. You want to take it again?
Sure. I'll probably leave it in anyway, but we're going to do it.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
You will.
New World Witchery is a production of New World Witchery Podcasts and is released under a Creative Commons Share and Share Alike license. The title and closing music for this episode is Woman Blues by Paul Avgernos, licensed from AudioSocket.